Story time, y'all. I'm going to tell you about the time a couple of nurses bullied me and tried to get me kicked out of the facility I was working at. Want to hear that story? When I was 20, I was going to school to be an RN. I applied to work at a facility, and one of my family members was kind of a big deal there. She was very influential. I finally get an interview. During the interview, the nurse manager asked me, "Hey, how is your disability? How is your Tourette's going to be a problem for me? How is it going to affect your job?" That's so illegal. I knew this was illegal, but I wanted the job, so I answered the question. I get home and I get rejected. My family member, who is highly influential, is like, "Hey, what happened?" I tell her I was rejected. I tell her the questions that I was asked in the interview, and my family member says, "That's illegal." I'm like, "I know, but I wanted the job." My family member says, "Hell no, I am not going to stand for this," and decides she's going to HR and she reads them for the filth. And if anybody out there knows me and knows the family member that I'm speaking of, you know she read them for the filth. She demands an investigation. She gets an investigation. After a couple weeks, they surmise that yes, this person in fact was acting illegally and was acting bigoted and didn't hire you because you have Tourette syndrome. So they then offer me the job. They didn't fire this person. No, no, no. This was a unionized facility, so they couldn't just fire her. They instead think it's a great idea for me to work under her. The whole time I'm there, they decided they're gonna plot and plan to get me kicked out of there because now she's mad. We've called her out and she now has an incident on her record. Fast forward a couple years, I am in a patient's room with a friend of hers that was like her best friend who decided, "I'll help you get this girl out of here. No problem." This nurse, mind you, had never met anybody with Tourette syndrome before me, didn't know anything about Tourette syndrome, learned everything she knew about Tourette syndrome from me, and decided that she was going to use that information I gave her and weaponize it against me. Only thing is, she wasn't that smart. So we go into this room together, and there's a lot of commotion in this room. She thinks this is her perfect opportunity to say, well, because of all the commotion, Janelle's cussing tics were triggered and she was cussing in the patient's room, and that's a reason to fire her because we can't have cussing in the patient's room. Only trouble is, I don't have coprolalia. She couldn't use that against me, but she tried. I have proof that I don't have coprolalia because I have medical records that document the type of Tourette's that I have. They pull me into their office and they both proceed to try to convince me that I was cussing because I was triggered by the commotion in the patient's room. And now I have coprolalia. And I'm sitting there as a 22-year-old and I'm laughing hysterically. These two buffoons think I'm stupid. So they send this information up to HR where I have documented medical records. And I am able to show them, like, look, see, I don't have coprolalia. I don't cuss on accident. So they throw that out, but they don't fire these two idiots because they can't, because it's a unionized facility. So that's the time two bully nurses trying to get me fired from a job because they didn't like the fact that I had Tourette's and they didn't like the fact that I wasn't going to let them get away with their bigotry. So that's another tale from the Tourette's hood. Thanks for listening, y'all.